Hello, this is Preview Percy. Apparently some of you lower orders haven't got much of an attention span. So here's my recorded version of my look at this week's trip to Gillingham. So we haven't been down that way for nigh on 15 years. At the end of that season, which for those of you who can't count, was 2004-2005, the two teams went in opposite directions. Us upwards via the playoffs and them downwards to what they now call Division 3. Or League One, or something. Their chairman's a bit of a card. Paul Scally has been a controversial figure, and some of this may just sound a little bit familiar. Scally has repeatedly stated his desire to shift the club from the Priestfield Stadium to somewhere else, not necessarily in Gillingham, though he does at least want to keep them in Kent. In case you're getting a sense of déjà vu, he's also had major fallouts with the supporters group. He banned the ex-chairman of one such organisation for life, although to be fair, the ban was rescinded after 6 years. It's not just independent writers that Scally has a gripe with. The Kent Messenger Group were persona non grata for many years, and he's also nosed off many other clubs over the years over a somewhat idiosyncratic approach to transfer deals. This is all so familiar, one wonders whether or not there is some sort of guidebook that's issued to prospective club owners when they start out. The current season, Gillingham are in 11th place in the league, having played 24 matches so far. Although that's a whole 5 places shy of a playoff spot, they are just 3 points behind Peterborough, who currently occupy the final berth. A number of teams between them and Posh, of course, have played fewer games, but they'll probably feel they're handily placed for the second half of the season and that they still have much to play for league-wise. Their current form is good. Their last 6 record of 1-3 and drawn 3 is second only to that of Lincoln, who've won 4 and lost 2 in the same period. You've got to go back to 23rd November last year for Gillingham's last defeat, which was a 1-0 reverse at AFC Wimbledon. In the Cup this season, they got to the third round by defeating Sunderland 1-0 after extra time in a replay after a 1-1 draw up on Wearside, and Doncaster 3-0 at Priestfield. Daisy, my full-time permanent assistant, with a beautiful smile, tells me that there's a familiar name in the opposition squad. Ollie Lee is the son of Rob Lee and is a graduate of our academy, although he didn't trouble the first 11 statisticians at the bowling. Since leaving us back in 2012, Lee has been about a bit. He's currently on the books at Hearts, his loan spell in Kent being due to expire at the end of January. It's Lee's second loan spell with the Gills. He played 8 games in 11-12 whilst on our books. A second loan player, Alex Jakubiak, is joint top scorer with 6 this term. He's on a season-long deal from Watford, for whom he's just made a solitary appearance since signing pro in 2014. Gillingham is Jakubiak's 8th loan club in the last 5 years. He's been on the bench for the last 5 matches, though his 80th minute equaliser against Pompey last time out might see him recalled to the starting 11 for this one. The other joint top scorer is Brandon Hanlan. Hanlan is in his second season in Kent, having been released by Charlton at the end of 2017-18. His first season with Gillingham saw him given their Young Player of the Year award. There is another slightly familiar name in the squad in the form of Matty Willock, whose brother Joe is regularly to be found plying his trade at Arsenal. A third brother, Chris, is on Benfica's books, although he's currently on loan at West Brom. All 3 started out as kids at Arsenal, though Matty was let go at 15 and subsequently ended up at Man United. Apparently all 3 were on the pitch when Man United and Arsenal's reserve teams met a while back, giving rise to the phrase, a right bunch of Willocks. Probably. We do like a good name in these parts, so we are pleased to give mention to their skipper, whose birth certificate rejoices in the splendid name of Maximilian Andreas Eimer. Sadly, this is reduced to Max by all and sundry. The Frankfurt-born defender has been in the UK since he was a kid and started out at QPR. He signed pro terms at the age of 17 back in 2009 and stayed with QPR until 2015. However, he only made 1 league appearance in his 6 years at Loftus Road. He had a bit of a peripatetic existence with loan spells at Yeovil, Preston, Stevenage and Carlisle appearing on his CV. He pitched up at Gillingham on loan in 2014-15, eventually signing a permanent deal at the start of 2015-16. He now has over 200 appearances for Gillingham and is in his second spell as captain, so I guess only his mum gets to call him Maximilian these days, which is a bit of a shame. We now move on to our regular feature of the wild and wacky world of association football. And I see Klopp has been moaning yet again. Not content with having PGMOL pandering to his every whim, he's now moaning about the crowded fixture list and the fact that FA Cup matches have replays. If only he'd been able to take his team away to somewhere warm for a few days, for a couple of meaningless games. Say Qatar, for example. Shame. Elsewhere, French women's international Wendy Renard has appealed for help in finding her trophy for making FIFA's Team of the Year, which she somehow left on a train. Sadly, Pickles the dog has long since departed for the great lamppost in the sky, so unless there are any other trophy locating canines out there, she'll probably have to rely on the gendarmerie. Still, it says a lot for how far the women's game has come. Having just shelled out an amount the size of a small nation's defence budget on a return ticket to Gillingham for this weekend, I'm impressed that female stars now get paid enough to travel anywhere by train. And so to us. Well, one swallow does not a summer make, and it has to be said that Bournemouth reminded me of, us really. However, it was a much better performance all round on New Year's Day. Players looked interested and willing to work their socks off, something that was all too absent from the last days of Pellegrini. Part of that will be down to the natural desire to impress a new boss, whoever he may be. However, some of that will be down to Moyes himself. The trick will be to maintain that honeymoon period for as long as possible. I have to admit I'm still not overwhelmed by the appointment. I still think there are better managers, and Moyes' appointment owed more to availability than anything else. However, if he can keep that work ethic going, that'll be half the job done. The VAR thing was much on display against Bournemouth. The Noble penalty was a bit soft, I'll admit, but there was contact in the form of a hand on the skipper's back. Given that Liverpool are regularly granted spot kicks where there's no contact occurring at all, I'll take those all day long until referees start applying the laws of the game properly for everyone. The Cresswell decision was interesting. Technically speaking, his challenge was strong, yes, but arguably not even a foul. Certainly wasn't a red card. A yellow was a kind of get-out-of-jail-free card for the officials, as if to say, we cocked it up but we'll save face by giving a yellow. Looking forward to this one. Well, Moyes is saying all the right things about the Cup, and the intention seems to be to field as close as possible to a first 11 for this one. Rightly so, in my opinion. Hopefully the days of fielding an 11 that requires parental consent to play, just so a manager can make a point to the owners, are long gone. Quite what the 11 will look like will of course depend on fitness. Fabianski will start if he can shake off some soreness from that hip. All that standing around on his own in the cold the other night won't have done him any good. He's one of 4 players given no greater than a 50-50 chance of playing. The others being Noble with a bad ankle, Antonio hamstring, Cresswell some unspecified knock. Other injuries include Martin hamstring, Yarmolenko hamstring, and Wilshere, who's got everything wrong with him. Those last 3 will all miss out, so don't expect too many of the 50-50s to appear either. Prediction? Well, normally I'd have been very worried about this. We saw earlier on this season at Oxford just how a poor attitude can lead to disaster, and there have been shed loads of that on show in recent weeks. However, and remember, it's only a very small sample base, that willingness to put a shift in that was on display against Bournemouth should make all the difference if they can keep that up. So the £2.50 I was going to spend on a private detective to find out where they've hidden all the brandy around here will instead go on an away win this time round. Mr. Winston, please place it all on a 3-1 win to us, my good man. For the rest of this week's preview, including a few statistics, details of the referee, and of course Percy's poser, please visit kumb.com. In the meantime, this is Preview Percy signing out. Learn to read.